Doing a solo can be intimidating at times, at best, at the best of times, either on stage or in the recording studio. Every time when the solo spot is about to come up, I would feel a tinge of nervousness in me. The things that goes on in my mind before the solo comes in, before the solo section comes in, it's a collection of all the things that you have collected, the experiences that you collected, either during rehearsal, in terms of a live show, or in terms of recording studio. How many times have you run through the song? Sometimes you don't have the luxury of running through too many times, maybe just once or twice, and then they're going for a take. So it's a thought process that you have to hone in through years of experience. For me, when I'm presented with a song, say for example in a recording studio, I will listen to the song, like, what time signature is it in? Is it in 4/4, 3/4, or is it a shuffle? And then I'll get to the groove of the song, like, how the song goes, what sorts of instrumentation it's involved, are involved, like, are there a whole lot of lush strings and synth parts or loops or stuff like that? Because all this plays a part in what you're trying to present to the song, in terms of your solo. So in songs where there are a whole lot of stuff going on, then that gives you the option of not playing too much, and leaving space for your solos. And in terms of ballads, that's where you have to come up with lines that are infectious, which comes to my second point. I always told the ones that ask me about soloing is that a guitar solo, a good guitar solo or a great guitar solo, is always a song within a song. And if you listen to a lot of solos done in the past, either by the studio musicians or from band members, some of my favorite guitarists are like Neil Sean, Steve Lukather, Dan Huff, Jay Graydon. Jay Graydon is this one guy who does melodious solos that I would kill for. He has such a great taste, and being from a bebop background, he can conjure up lines that are so infectious and so nice, and he does like, you know, 3-part harmonies at times. If you don't believe me, check out the Twilight Tone from Manhattan Transfer. It will blow your mind, right? And of course there are guys like, you know, who does really great stuff, like, you know, Larry Carlton, you know, the stuff that he did back in the late 70s to 80s, some of the television stuff that he does, you know, if you remember, some of you my age remember Magnum PI, you know, that riff that he plays, and that little part that he played as a slow solo line, that is like, you know. So anyway, I digress. When a song calls for a guitar solo, which is very rare these days, we have to make sure as guitarists, if you're doing the solo, that it will be a solo that people can remember, that guys would like, you know, sit right out and say, wow, that's a killer solo. And that's what I meant by a song within a song. So in terms of ballads, you know, you gotta get infectious lines that are really melodious, and above all, you know, the above everything else, right? You have to get melodious lines going. Of course, the feel, your vibrato, the tone you're gonna get from your fingers, the effects you're using, all play a part. So, you know, you have to understand that doing a solo incorporates all these elements. You know, the lines, the feel, how you pick, the effects that you use, you know, your dynamics, you know, and your timing. And of course, if you're gonna play a solo, or rather, if you're gonna play guitar in any song, you have to be in the pocket. You have to, like, you know, get into the groove and not rush, you know, which I tend to do, you know. That comes from real bad practice. So, yeah, but in my years of studio playing, I learned how to tone down and how not to rush too much. I still do occasionally. You know, I'm a Singaporean, I rush all the time. People say it. There's a friend who says that we're Singaporean, you know, we rush everywhere. So we're actually Russians. Bad joke. Anyway. So if you're one of these guys, practice with a metronome or practice with a backing track and try to get the groove, you know, try to hone into the groove. And when you're doing a solo, try not to rush your parts out. And when you're doing a free-form solo that I mostly do in my YouTube videos, you have to depend on the riffs that we have stored in our muscle memory, back in our brain. And we have to call that occasionally now and then. But then we have the choice of doing variations to it, like, you know, doing different stuff to your usual riffs that you used to do. And that, in turn, will set up a series of riffs where you can actually incorporate them together, gel them together to represent itself as a guitar solo, if you do it well, right? So other than that, you know, it's just a matter of practicing modes, really important. Practicing singing out the solos before you actually do them. And if you start singing out and they sound good, then you can actually like cop out some of the lines that you have sung and incorporate them into your solo. And when you're constructing a solo in your own recording, don't be impatient. You know, it takes time to work out. You know, I remember a time in the studio back in the 90s when I was doing this terribly hard song. You know, it's a nice song. That's why it took me so long. And I just wanted to nail that solo. I just want to do a solo that's a song within a song. And it took me like 3 hours to do that. And I really salute the producer back then, because he had the patience to wait for me to finish that solo. But at the end result, I was so pleased with the solo, but it didn't become a hit. So, you know, that's what happens. But that was back then. You know, nowadays, you know, you have the luxury of a home studio. You can take your time to do a solo, and yeah, that's mostly what we do. So when you approach a solo, what do you want to do? If you're in a band context, there's a whole lot of different thing, because if you're in a band context, then you have to be wary about the attitude of the band. You know, if you guys have a sound of your own, then your guitar tone and the way you play the lines and everything will represent the way the band is, the attitude of the band, you know, the image of the band. So there's something to consider if you're in a band. But if you're just a guy who's starting to do sessions and stuff like that, then it'll be good to listen to a whole lot of solos and not to copy them as per se. You know, we all copy, all of us copy. It's just that after a while we will have to break out of that and develop a style of our own. So it takes time, it takes years. It's not going to be like overnight. So if you're going to do, if you strive to be a session guitarist, then listen to a whole lot of song, practice. You know, I just hope some of these tips help. And if you have any questions, if you have a discussion about this, put it in the comment section below. We can talk some more about this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, give me a thumbs up and ring that bell. Will be away for a while because I'll be involved in a project in Singapore at home. So I will not be coming up videos until about a week and a half later from now. So till then, you take care of yourself. Ciao.